Yes, guys, Suki for BTS TV. And look, I know I say this all the time. My guest doesn't need any introduction, but really, do I even need to introduce this person? She's got the most wins out of any pro competitor. She's currently number two in the world, going for number one. It's, of course, Ashley Kaltwasser. Ashley, been a minute. How you doing?
I am doing so good. Thank you so much for having me on. I'm excited about this.
Okay, look, let's get straight to it because we're in 7 weeks out from Olympia.
Yes.
This year, fewer shows, fewer shows this year. Let me ask the question. I know you've answered it before, but I want to ask it again. What was the reason behind just keeping this season down to a minimum and just focus on numero uno, which is Las Vegas, the Olympia?
Yeah. So last year I got my goal of 50 wins. So that was a big milestone for me.
Yeah,
So
I
my,
didn't hear about it. I didn't see anything about it on socials. Yeah.
no. So last year my strategy was totally different. I was just competing a lot because I wanted to hit 50. Now, the Olympia is an important show, but to me, last year I prioritized my goal of 50 wins over the Olympia. Now, luckily, it still worked out for me and I did great at the Olympia. But for this year, I'm going to prioritize the Olympia because I met my goal last year. So now it's time to get the O title back. It's been like 10 years, so it's about time. I'm going to
I,
try. I'm going to try.
well, look, that sounds like I prioritized last year to get my goal of 50 wins, and even though I did that, I still came second at the Olympia. I'm still the second best in the entire world when it comes to the pro bikini division, which means technically, if I'm thinking what you just told me, that now you're prioritizing the Olympia. If you did all that last year, could be so many times and come second this year. Do we think that this could be a massive, massive assault on Laura Lee from Ashley Kaltwasser to regain the Olympia title? Is it officially 10 years since she last won? I'm trying to do the
Yeah,
years.
2015. 2015
So
was my last one. So it's been quite a long time. But to answer your question, the only thing I can do is try, right? Now, I do think that I'm going to be in a better position to do better this year, given that I gave my body a little more rest. And like I said, I really am prioritizing Olympia. So I only did a few shows. So, what else can I do other than that to, better my odds there? So, really focusing on the O, and it's I think about it so much throughout the day, and this is so unusual for me because usually I don't think about things this intensely, but for some reason this year it's like constantly on my mind. So maybe that's just the burden of expectation. I'm not quite sure, but either way, I'm thinking about it a lot more than I have previously. So
is that just the champion mindset that you have as a serial winner? Maybe it's the idea that it's been over a decade since you last won Olympia, and yet you are still one of the top bikini competitors. You're still at the top at your A game, whereas others have maybe fallen behind or maybe chose to retire. You are still challenging at the very top. I mean,
mhm.
you must. I know you say you're gonna try and win it, but there must be a part of you that believes that you can create Olympia history, create one of the most iconic moments in Olympia history, and retain the title 10 years after you last won it.
That sounds so cool when you say it. It gives me goosebumps. So yeah, it's something that honestly it surprises me too. Um, I after I took a year off from competing, and when I did take that year off, I came back in a worse position. And there was a few years where I did worse at the Olympia, but ever since 2021, I've been making my way back up, which surprises the heck out of me. Like I've exceeded all my expectations. So it's really crazy to think about it. And when I first turned pro, I just wanted to like win one pro show, right? I didn't expect all this would come from it. So I'm just riding this wave. Let's see what happens.
Do you think, because I spoke to the girls on Bikini Insider, Kerry and Marley, the other day, and I stated about If Ashley won the Olympia this year, does that elevate her to become one of the greatest, not just in big, great, not just bikini competitors of all time, but the greatest female competitor of all time because of the time difference between your
Mhm.
first, your last, and of course this title, which is up for grabs. That is just something that has never, I don't think it's ever, but never been done. That time scale, a decade between your last and potentially number four. Is there part of you thinking about how much that could drive and cement your legacy as a true great in bodybuilding, not just bikini, but bodybuilding overall?
Yeah, that is so cool to think about. Yeah, not many people could say that, right? I guess it's all, it all depends on what you prioritize as being like special because especially if we're comparing different divisions and things like that. I know that there's bodybuilders that's got way more Olympia titles. So some people will prioritize the Olympia titles. Maybe it's impressive that I've done it more in a longer time span. So I guess it's all how you look at it. But either way, I'm giving myself some pats on the back because even going this far is crazy to me. Like I still don't know how I got here and I don't know how I'm still doing it, but I'm keeping going. And the best thing I've heard this year, and I've heard this from the judging panels on the shows that I've competed in, I've only competed in a few, they said, you're getting better every year. So that's like music to my ears. I'm like, let's see how far I can take this then. Cause I see it for myself too. I'm making some crazy improvements, and I'm just like, all right, let's keep what do they say? Keep cooking while the pot is hot.
Well, let's talk about the big competition. And that's Laura Lee's got the
Hmm.
number one spot. And just behind her, looking over her shoulder, is the one with the most pro wins in history. And that's Ashley Kaltwasser, that's yourself. Where do you believe that you could have the beating of Laura Lee to take the title off her? Because she ain't going to give it up without a fight. She's had an entire year to focus purely on this defense, knowing that arguably this could be one of the toughest lineups to date. Maureen is back. Amy Delgado got two
Hmm.
huge wins. Vanya won the Arnold. We got Ashlyn. We got Jazz. We got Jordana just won last weekend, and she's fired up to break in that top five. Where do you believe that you could potentially have the beating of the reigning champion?
Well, it's the Olympia and it could be anybody's day and everyone at the top, there's always going to be an argument like, oh, she could win for this, she could win because of that. I will say one of my strong points is I'm pretty darn consistent. Like I don't look completely different from show to show. I keep it pretty predictable with little adjustments as needed, but I think that helps me a lot. That's like my strong point is I'm pretty consistent. So hopefully that reigns true as well when I hit the stage in October.
What's going to be the main differences that we've seen in the last couple of shows already, but what's going to be the main differences from what you brought on the two shows you've done so far this year, and of course Olympia 2024? What's been the main differences going into the 2025 that we as fans of Ashley Kaltwasser, fans of Olympia, that we can expect to see?
Well, I think that I've improved my balance a lot, especially in the last few years. So my upper body had always been like my weak spot. But in the last few years, it's really come up a lot and kind of matching my lower a lot better. So I feel like that's going to help me very, very much. And with the last few shows that I did, I can't say there's going to be crazy improvements because the judges all said this is good to go. So if it's not broke, don't fix it. I'll try to keep it similar. But yeah, the balance I think is my biggest, I guess, game changer for this year.
Apart from Laura Lee, who's obviously she's number one, you're number two. Then there's quite a few girls who will also want that title or even try and take even a second spot from you. Have there been which girls have impressed you so far this season? Because I know that you're always watching your division. You know what's going on. You know who are the main contenders for the title this year. Who has impressed you the most so far in the 2025 season?
Honestly, I would say this year I've been very impressed by Vanya, but I will say don't count out Maureen because I don't think we saw her best this year. Don't sleep on her. She's a past Olympia champion. So I think if the time is right, she's going to be up there, with us too. So if you're asking who's like going to be a threat, I would say Maureen, Vanya. Yeah.
And what's your thoughts on another contender is Amy Delgado, who took two huge wins at Pittsburgh and New York. When we spoke to her on the Bikini Insider about a month ago, she mentioned that really she's in a far better place now to really have a strong assault on for that title. What's been your thoughts of her season so far in 2025?
She's always a solid competitor. So definitely everyone's like a threat. So don't just because I didn't name someone didn't mean I don't
Yeah.
think that they're going to be up there. She's also super impressive as well, and I know she's really been gaining a lot of momentum in the last few years, so that's good to see. But yeah, she's a little bit of an unpredictable one. Maybe we'll see her up in that top again.
Well, away from Olympia, I want to touch on another division, a division that has just started this year, fifth model, where of course the IFBB Pro League, the NPC, use yourself as the cover of the division. But now we start to see more girls compete. We're seeing a lot more IFBB pros coming through, winning pro status in fifth model, not just in the US, but all over the world. What's your thoughts so far of the division? How it's been going so far over the past 8 months?
I love it. And I love how it's progressing too. I think everyone got a little nervous in the beginning because they were unsure, perhaps, or, there's not a lot of girls to choose from in the beginning because it's a new division and it's scary and people are unsure. But wow, it's really been picking up. And just the shows that I've been attending as an audience member, that's the division that's getting even more athletes now. So it makes sense. It's the entry level, but I love it. I, yeah, if Fit Model came around maybe like in 2020 or below, I would do it. I would, but it's already too late now because I'm pretty established. So I probably should stay with bikini. But I'm even like, dang, that would be fun to do. So I approve.
Who's been the standout fifth model competitor in your eyes so far in 2025?
That is so hard to answer
You can
because
give a few
some of the
names if you
girls
want. You give me a few names.
I don't honestly, I don't really research it like that to know the names. And I feel like too, the girls that, they'll turn pro or whatever, then you don't see them compete again. So it's hard to remember things. Uh, I can't give you a specific, but I just like the way it's being judged and the physiques they're picking. So yeah, good stuff.
I think it's going in the right direction. And look, I heard your coach say that one day she believes that will be the most popular division in the IFBB. I agree completely. I do. I've seen obviously the numbers grow, not just for UK, but in European and Asian shows as well. And what's also great is these competitors, they're competing consistently week in, week out in the female division because obviously, it's more sustainable and they're able to compete in more shows, which is fantastic to see and great news for the promoters. One thing I am looking forward to though is obviously next year is the pro shows beginning in Fit Model, and what's also exciting is to see maybe which bikini IP pros may decide to convert over to fifth model division. I think that could be the time where that would elevate the fifth model division even higher because everyone
Mm-hmm.
just wants to see that first pro lineup.
Yeah, that's going to be so exciting to see. I'm very curious because, with the pro division, they're going to pick more developed physiques than NPC, of course. So it's going to be interesting to see how that looks in comparison to pro bikini too. So yeah, I'm excited to see that.
I have to touch on this. I remember listening to the interview with Frank Sepe where I know I did a little post about it. It was all tongue in cheek because it's not gonna happen. But
Right.
obviously, we had to mention it. I know he asked like, would there ever be another division that you would compete in? And look, we still gotta wait till 2031 before we even see you in the Masters Olympia stage. My God, we still got five Olympias
I know,
until
right?
then.
I'm sure everyone was already thinking that I'm about to, nope, we still got time. I still got some time.
I do you think you'll still be going on? Do you think you might step on stage at the Masters Olympia one day in the 2030s? My God, 2030s, so far away. Is that something that you've thought about?
Doing the Masters Olympia is definitely something I'm considering doing in 2031. However, I'm torn because I don't know if I should or not because I don't want my legacy to be like muddied with like, oh, well, some of them were Masters wins and some were open. Because no, I want to make it clear like my wins are open. They're nothing else. Because the thing about even competing in other shows outside of Masters Olympia, let's say you compete in just a regular show that has like a 45 plus, a 40 plus, a 35 plus, an open. It's like I could win. Well, in theory, I could win four times. So, how I don't like to muddy it. You know what I'm saying? So, I don't know if I want to go down that route only for that reason. I just don't want there to be like, well, some of those weren't open or whatnot, people say, you know?
Would there ever be a time where look, we saw Bikini when it started in 2010, how it continued to evolve to where it is now? We imagine that would be the same for Fit Model. It's going to continue to evolve every year, just like any other division. Would there ever be a time that maybe I know the physiques are different, but would you be thinking to yourself, it'd be nice to be a two division Olympia champion, not just in bikini, but also fit model.
Yeah, that would be so cool to do and say. And, you never know the future far down. However, I will say I think Fit Model will favor more of a younger girl. Um, but you never know. We'll see. We'll see.
Is are we at the point now where you hit that record for the number of wins you wanted? Moving forward, are we going to expect now to see less of Ashley Kaltwasser on stage and focus on the big shows where, like the Olympia, maybe even the Arnolds? What's that now looking for? Because that's a big goal ticked off, which was number of pro wins, and it's very hard to imagine anybody ever beating it, especially if you continue to rack up more pro wins. So, how does this now change the way you compete moving forward in years to come?
Yeah. So, if we're looking at like maybe next year or so, I think I'll probably do some bigger shows next year. This year, I'm just trying something different, like take it light before Olympia. So I did, some shows for warm up purposes to, test the waters, um, keep it nice and tight, of course. But maybe next year we'll see about the Arnold, we'll see about Pittsburgh, things like that. I'll be honest, I saw the Pittsburgh show um online. Not I wasn't there, but I saw it and I was like, I had the biggest like FOMO. I'm like, man, I should have started my season here because it was so epic. I was like, dang, they're stepping it up. But if we're thinking of like post Olympia, depending how I feel, I do want to go like overseas for some shows, maybe Europe, maybe Asia. But I think of like the post Olympia shows a little bit differently because it's like the pressure isn't there as much as before the Olympia because you're always like, oh, I don't want to mess up my prep for Olympia or I need to save my energy for Olympia. But after Olympia, it's kind of like all right, time to have some fun. Let's go, travel and compete. So that's how I think of it. So yeah, I guess that's my answer. After Olympia, you'll probably see me overseas somewhere, and then maybe next year some bigger shows. Maybe I'll eliminate some of my usual shows, switch it up, spice it up a bit. But yeah, I guess it all depends too how I do at the Olympia and how I feel, of course.
Do you think maybe Arnold UK could potentially be one of them? I mean, Arnold UK is back in
Okay.
2026. So, which is
That's
obviously
good.
what I think is only a week after the Arnold US.
Yeah. Oh, wow. I didn't know it was a week after. So that one is very tempting to do. I won that show, I think in 2022. But yeah, great production. And of course, I love going to the UK. It's always so much fun.
Who doesn't love an Ashley Kaltwasser tour around the world, doing multiple shows? Look, I'm sure it's a promoter's dream to see an email from Ashley Kaltwasser saying, "Yeah, I'm coming to do your show." That would be splendid. Look, going look at Olympia as well. I want you to touch on a few people because there are some of your teammates. One of them is, I believe, she is the fourth youngest Bikini Olympian. I want to say fourth youngest, and that is Tiana, who we had on the Bikini Insider, and she's like a shoot fangirling all over you. Because of course, look, where you're at, you've inspired so many people, and so many bikini girls who are coming up the ranks now look up to yourself for the longevity that you've proved that if you do things right, you train right, then you can build a long career. Um, what's your thoughts on Tiana, only 21 years old, going into her
Oh,
first ever Olympia?
she is so sweet, and I'm happy that I get to share, the stage with a few of my teammates at the Olympia this year. Myself, Tiana, and UMA, all from Team Elite Physique. So it's so cool because usually I'm just like it's me or someone else. But yeah, we got a nice little team going on there. So it's going to be so much fun, and I'm happy she qualified. That's so cool. Go teamy! Yay!
No, it's super exciting. And one thing I want to ask, I want to throw this to you because there's been a lot of conversation in regards to a few divisions, in regards to the volume of competitors, the volume of competitors that's qualified for Olympia, not just bikini, but also classic physique, men's physique. What's your thoughts in those conversations? Now you've been just you could be for so long at so many Olympias. You've seen the number of competitors grow across all the divisions. And one of the conversations has been, like I said, is the pre-judging aspect. So many competitors qualifying, and therefore it becomes so long. Does it need to be fixed, or do you think it is what it is? If someone qualifies, you have to give them their time on stage with everybody else.
Well, I think I I was thinking of different ways to go about, how would they improve it? And you also have to realize they probably already thought of everything that everyone's saying, and there's a reason why that it's not like that. But I do think it has gotten quite large, and I kind of feel bad for the men's open that go on the last because I'm like, well, it's like 10 p.m. They had a lot of bikini routines like that. So it would be nice if it could be, slimmed down a bit. I don't know the exact answer to that. The best idea I thought of was like, well, just make prejudging like the group comparisons and then call outs. And of course, they'll walk us back and forth. So you get to see people's walk and then kind of earn your routine for finals. And then maybe the top 15 or whatever get to present. I always thought that was a good idea because there's so many shows going on and you don't want to like deter people from competing at shows because some shows don't have enough competitors to begin with, like in some country that maybe isn't as traveled to. So you don't want to like discourage people by saying, well, this show doesn't count for Olympia, you
Yeah.
know. But maybe there's like a better way to do prejudging of finals. And I also think another thing that might be holding it up too is like, the Olympia does take care of the travel for the athletes. And you don't want to like spend the money on travel for someone just to do like 5 minutes of comparisons or whatever. So I don't know. I think that they're probably thinking of many different ways to go about that. And I think they're already on it, probably thinking for next year, but they'll have to because like prejudge. Well, for the fit model, I don't think they'll have Olympia next year, but the next. So I'm sure it'll get resolved somehow. I do wish though, I wish the girls would follow the rules with the posing time. They'll say like 45 seconds or a minute sometimes. Maybe half the girls follow that Most of them don't though, or and it just kind of prolongs it because the judges will always tell you, they'll say, the longer you're on stage, the more flaws we can detect. So you
Yeah.
don't need to overextend your time on stage because I do think at some point too, the judges are like, all right, this is getting boring. Like next in their mind. So you don't ever want to give that impression either. I just wish the competitors would follow the time limits. That would solve a lot. So I'm speaking only on bikini, by the way. I don't know how the men do it, but the bikini routines, some of them are too long, some too long, too long.
It'll be exactly the same for men's physique, no doubt. It'll be I'm sure those guys will say the same thing when I've spoke to Ryan and the other guys, they've all said the same thing. Look, before we wrap up, Ashley, because I know, look, you're busy and you got 7 weeks until Olympia. My God, I'm so excited for the bikini division because it's so competitive. I think there's going to be so many twists and turns leading into it, and especially when it comes to that first call out. My God, I don't even know where to begin on who could be in that first call out. But going back to you, when it's all said and done, Ashley, when it's all said and done, the dust is settled, where do you believe in your heart that what result will take place at Olympia 2025, a decade after your last victory? I won't keep saying that because I just find it phenomenal that even a decade on, you are still spoke about as one of the favorites, one of the leading contenders for the title. But going back to my question, when the dust is settled on that day at finals, where do you believe you will land?
Oh gosh, that is such a hard question to
Is
answer.
it really, Ashley? Is
It
it
is.
really?
I know what answer you're looking for. And unfortunately, I'm not one of those girls that just talk, talk, talk. I'm not. I'll tell you, I'm going to give it my absolute best. And you know what? That's the mindset I've had since 2013 when I won. People always want me to say, "Yeah, I'm going to win. I got this." But the sport, you can't play defense. The only thing I control is myself. So I'll show up the best I can on that day, let the judges do their thing. But I think it's silly when competitors talk so big when who knows? Who knows? So you won't catch me looking stupid. I'm just gonna say, hey, we'll see on show day. I don't need to talk or anything. I don't need to hype myself up. You know, my resume is pretty good, so I'll go with that.
And that is a perfect way to end it because you know what? That's been authentically you since the start. In the end, you let your actions deliver, you let your actions speak, and clearly you must be doing something right because you've got a lot of wins along the way, along with 3 Olympia titles, and you're still here. You are still here challenging the new girls coming through, girls have gone, girls have left, and you are still here a decade on after your last win. That is what's making this so exciting, Ashley. And look, I applaud you as always, not just for what you've proved to not just bikini competitors, but all competitors in all divisions, that longevity isn't just based on how you train, how you look after yourself, but my God, you still love the sport. You still love giving back. And you're not just focusing on one show. You're going to all these other shows where the fans may not have the opportunity to see someone like yourself, an icon of bodybuilding. So you've just been a true ambassador for so long, and I can't wait to see how this plays out in Vegas in 7 weeks.
I'm so excited. Thank you so much for having me. Yeah, this was a good interview. I appreciate it.
I appreciate it, Ashley. Thank you.